Since its inception, the Young Entrepreneurs Scheme, or YES, has been inspiring youths and giving them a platform to apply their innovation to the benefit of all Fijians. Tonight, we will have three stakeholders in the YES program to discuss how far the program has come. Our first guest is Mr. Shaheen Ali, the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening.
So first of all, for the benefit of the viewers who might not be aware of the YES program, tell us what YES is.
Okay, Young Entrepreneurship Scheme, we met before and we talked a little bit about it, and since then it has evolved. Basically this scheme was announced by Minister for Economy in the 2017-2018 budget. Through the efforts of Fijian government, which saw that its programs were bearing results such as free education, free bus fare, secondary school, and all through the TELs. And at the same time, in terms of our demographic, we knew that we had a very young population. So Young Entrepreneurship Scheme was created to give an opportunity to our young people that were graduating out of institutions to not only look for employment, but become their own bosses and create employment. So become job creators rather than job seekers. And also, if they had a passion and a dream for a certain idea to be turned into a business, this was given a realization through assistance by a grant of, then it was 20,000, now it's 30,000, and with a lot of assistance and mentoring to enable them to be successful. So it was a initiative, the YES initiative. It was focused on young Fijians to empower them, to realize their dream, to become job creators, to have a sustainable livelihood, not only for them, but for their family. And through the projects they entered into, not only benefit them and their family, but the wider community and Fijian economy at large. Yeah.
Now, before we look at the increase in the grant itself from 20,000 to 30,000, let's just have a recap of previous awardees. We've had Adeline Tutu, we've got a couple of others who have actually gone out and become successful in niche markets so far. How has it been for the ministry working with these young entrepreneurs so far?
There has been, since the launch by the Honorable Prime Minister, an overwhelming interest by young Fijians to find out more about this scheme and, if possible, apply. Since then, there's been more awareness created as to what the scheme is looking for. We are looking for business ideas that are innovative. Now, innovative does not mean that you have to be immersed with high technology. It could mean using materials available, raw materials available, or finding a local problem and addressing it through an innovative solution, bringing in something new in the market, addressing a gap that no other business wants to address.
Perfect example would be the previous time that you came on. We had one of the YES recipients, Atunai Sarainima, who came on, and his project had to do with creating biogas from grass cuttings.
That's right.
And so far it's been quite successful. Articles have been done on him. And seeing something like that, something that could create and sustain livelihoods in areas where the government may not be able to create markets, say like they would in central urban areas. It's quite, it's quite interesting.
The Fijian economy has gone through almost a decade of positive growth. Our economy is poised at a very good place right now. Our economy is growing thanks to the pro-growth policies of the Fijian government. The investment levels are high, consumer confidence is high, so is the investor confidence. We need to now sort of think about our young demographic. 70% of the population is below the age of 40, and ensure that our economy continues to be sustainable and continues to grow. For that, we need new innovative industries. We need more diversification, new industries to come up, new ideas to come up, and new technologies to be adopted. And one of the ways we can do that is to support micro, small enterprises, because innovation, apart from bigger firms which have huge R&D budgets, it also is generated by small business, because they find out innovative ways of doing things because they have to survive. So Young Entrepreneurship Scheme seeks to do exactly that by supporting young people. And your example was a good example, using landscaping and also complementing that with biogas, using the mulch or the raw materials. Since then, we have had successful recipients in the health that use fitness fitness app, and also do not just an exercise routine, but also do meal preparations, a complete package. We have a young gentleman that looks at traffic impact assessment, adopting technologies to get better results. So that type of innovative solutions is what the program and the ministry is supporting. And we have many such young people coming up with these bright ideas that the ministry would support. And this bodes well, not just for them, but also for, firstly, all Fijians that benefit from these services. And as I said, they contribute positively to the economy.
And although a lot of young Fijians know about the YES program, but for those who may not be aware of especially of the selection criteria, so let's say, for example, in the example of the person who is using an app to develop new health and fitness models, so would such a person need to be an expert in health and fitness to qualify for this grant? Let's say, for example, if in the example,
or just a layperson.
There is no such requirement. As we noted, initially it was for graduates coming out of tertiary institutions. Now it's open to everyone. All you need to do is have an idea that is credible, that is viable, and this is assessed not by government, but a panel of private sector people that are leaders of their own businesses. There are CFOs, there are CEOs that are sitting on this panel. They assess and make a determination, and then support is given, not just the support in terms of monetary terms, but also in terms of mentoring, in terms of training, overseas exposure. So all this, it's a holistic package to enable a young person to be able to first visualize an idea and then take it through to a successful business venture. And the examples that you have mentioned, just having a good idea, you don't need any qualifications to start with. If there's any certification requirement, licensing requirement, then we also help with that. So yes, it's open to all Fijians under the age of 40, and I think even you qualify, sir.
Yes,
I don't, unfortunately.
We'll hear more from Mr. Ali right after the break. Welcome back. Now, Mr. Ali, let's hear an update on the scheme itself. How many applications have you received since the last time that you appeared on the show? How many applications are yet to be processed?
Like I said, we've received an overwhelming amount of interest and applications, but the numbers are not important. What is important is now, through the advocacy work, the marketing that the ministry has done and the government has done, the young people of Fiji are beginning to understand the types of proposals that the ministry is seeking. So it's not just a grant program to start your business. Like I said before, the focus is on innovation and coming up with ideas that are not there in the marketplace. That is becoming widely understood now, and the quality of proposals that are being received are greatly and vastly improving. So what we'll see now is more successful recipients being given the grant, being given the support. The decision to give support, like I said, is not made by government. It's a panel of independent members selected from the private sector, and the chair is the country manager and the CEO of ANZ, Mr. Saud Minan. So it's a very high-powered panel that when it assesses these proposals, it has a mindset of not a bank, but a supporting institution to support them. Obviously, if you take an attitude of a bank, then you'd want all the T's being crossed and all I's dotted, and sustainability, those sort of things. But the proposals that come to the ministry, we know that we need to support them, and if there's any deficit somewhere, we need to assist in that regard.
Now, Mr. Ali, you mentioned that the grant has been increased from 20,000 to 30,000 now. That's one change that has been made.
Yes.
And the other one is widening the eligibility criteria, going from what it was before, now extending it to people up to 40 years.
Yes.
Now, of course, in layman's terms, we don't consider a 40-year-old a youth, but could you explain why the need to increase the eligibility criteria and also the grant?
When the program was first rolled out, it was a pilot phase, and then we listened to the feedback that was given to us. I think Honourable Minister for Economy, through his budget consultations, consulting the young people, received feedback, and business ideas and inspirational concepts are not limited to graduates only. I mean, we acknowledge that. So it was a good time, I think, midway through the program this year, to look at those suggestions that were made, and of course the government is very receptive to those. We saw a value in extending the eligibility to all Fijians, regardless of whether you have a formal tertiary qualification or not, and also increasing the age. By increasing the age, you open up to people that may be over 30 and have some experience in doing business. Maybe those experiences have not been successful, but this gives them another bite at the cherry. So it brings in a little bit of experience, maturity from people that are between 30 and 40, and we were only too glad to listen to that suggestion and extend it, and the response has been very, very positive.
Now, it's commendable that the government is doing these sort of things, taking into account feedback coming in, of course a reflection of total quality management principles of continuous improvement, looking at monitoring those who have received these grants and seeing how far they've come, maybe mentoring processes that have been done in the past and how to improve upon that. Any suggestions that have come through that you've taken on board?
What we've always done from the start is have a pool of mentors from different sectors with different expertise. So each recipient has been assigned a mentor from the application stage to the assessment, and then to the grant, and then hand-holding. It's a partnership of not just being the donor and the recipient. It's a partnership that continues after the grant is given, because these young people are able to then become advocates of the program, and that is very much needed, because we need to show the young people of Fiji the examples of how someone is able to, through the program, empower himself or herself and be able to bring the ideas that they have into reality and be successful businesses. So the recipients thus far have partnered with the ministry, have assisted the government in getting the message of yes out there.
Well, we'll have Winston Hill coming up later on. He's been the brand ambassador, which is really wonderful, given that youth these days need to have someone that they can connect to or look up to, and actually, get a feel of what the scheme is about. But before we get into that, we'll just look at the eligibility criteria. For most that are not aware of what it is, where can they apply, and how long would the process take?
We've made the application really simple. It has been done through electronic medium. You can apply electronically, so you just need to go to yes.gov.fj, and there is an application form electronically. You'll be able to load all the information that is requested. However, if that is not possible, then you can manually submit your applications to the ministry or our offices in the north or in the west. So the website will have all the information that is necessary. Application is open to all, and you just need an internet connection. The business plans that are associated with it, there is a template provided. The criteria is spelled out very clearly, and I mentioned how we are focused on innovation. That is also spelled out very clearly as to how they can maybe have an idea, talk to the ministry also to further develop this. So it is a comprehensive sort of a platform where it's not just you are talking to a machine, but the whole organization is there, whole support mechanism is there. You can talk to us. We can also assist you in getting your applications to a level that could be considered by the panel.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. And we wish you and the ministry all the best in the YES program.
Thank you very much.
When we come back, we speak with Krishneel Chand, a recipient of the YES scheme. Welcome back. We now speak with Krishneel Chand, who is a YES recipient. Welcome to the show. First up, tell us about your innovative idea that got you the grant.
Well, my innovative idea is to do with traffic. And to start off with, my business name is Traffic Essentials Fiji. We do traffic counting, traffic data analysis. We do simulation of the data. And then after that, we write up reports, whichever is required. Normally, a traffic impact assessment report is required for all sorts of building developments. Collection of data, analysis, simulation is a very basic component of that. So traffic impact assessment is basically a report which is done for building developments. As you know that every commercial building development is going to generate traffic. So let's say we have a building in the CBD area. So what happens is that we look at the intersections that will be loaded because of that development coming up. So we try to get the existing traffic data. Once we are able to get that existing traffic data, we do our traffic trip generation calculations looking at that development, and then those generated values are added onto the existing data as well. So then we are able to simulate it in a special software known as SIDRA. SIDRA means Signalized Unsignalized Intersection Design Research Aid. So once we're able to simulate that, we get a level of service. Let's say because of that development coming up, there's going to be this much of load onto the existing road network. So we're looking at a level of service of, for example, C. But if the development is not there, we are looking at a level of service of B. So we don't want to drop onto that grading system from a B to C or B to D, because what happens once the grading decreases, there's going to be more congestion on our roads and people are not going to be happy about it. So once we look at that, we know that because of that development coming up, there's going to be a decrease in the level of service to, let's say, C or D. Then we think about upgrading the particular intersection so that the level of service can increase to basically A or remain at B. So let's say if that particular intersection was a roundabout, now we are thinking of signalizing that intersection. Then we simulate that into our software to see, okay, what sort of a level of service are we getting? Has it improved or has it made the situation worse? So normally what happens is that once you're going from theoretically, in some situations, once you're going from a stop control or give way control to roundabout, it generally improves the level of service. So as you go along to signalizing a particular intersection, it basically improves the grading of it. So
Okay.
basically, this is what my business is all about.
So if I was to explain that to a layperson,
Okay.
you analyze data
Yes.
and you give intersections a grading.
Yes.
Okay, that's very interesting. We might have, so I'm assuming A is the best grading possible.
Yes. Yes.
That means that's an intersection where traffic flows very easily.
Very easily. everything's
And
good.
D is D or E.
Is,
So we've got plenty of D's and E's in Suma and Nusuri.
Yes, definitely.
I'm quite curious to know this, since you do look at data itself. How many A spots do you think we have around the country? A few or plenty?
A spots, when you're looking at it,
Okay, be honest,
honestly,
do we have A spots in Fiji?
really, I mean, to answer that properly as an traffic engineer, I will have to assess each and every intersection. But like right now, I've been just contracted for 3 traffic impact assessment jobs. So basically, I've looked at the entire road infrastructure for Singatoka Town CVD, because I'm doing a TI for BL Naidu development in the town over there. So really, if you talk about the Singatoka Town, I can say that, well, roundabout at the Melrose Bridge is performing pretty well, but there are other intersections which are saturating and not giving a good level of service. So I can speak on that, but I cannot speak about other intersections right now. I haven't.
Well, that's
assessed it.
reasonable.
So
Yes.
maybe there's something that would be in the pipeline,
Yep.
pardon me, given your work so far.
Right.
Maybe once you move on to a national scale,
Yep.
it could be a possibility.
As a recipient of the YES grant, tell us your experience. Was it difficult for you to apply? Were there barriers in place?
Not really. You don't have a lot of barriers in place or anything like that. The YES is a very, I would say, a user-friendly website. If you have any innovative idea, you can really write up your business plan. Things are explained really well on the website. What is required. Anybody who is able to read simple English will be able to understand it and then apply for it. So, and the staff at the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism are very helpful. So if you're even stuck on something, you can have a chat with them and they'll guide you through. So I did not find any difficulty with this program.
Well, you sort of hit the middle mark. I note that you're 29 years old, and this is not something that's brand new to you. You have been locally trained, but you've also got an international certification.
Yep.
You've worked previously in this area,
Yep.
and you do know what's needed, and especially given that you are from Fiji, which means you understand the landscape, you understand the problems, hotspot areas. It'd be easier for you to actually get into this. What would you expect from young entrepreneurs out there who could sort of complement and contribute to your project as well?
Yeah, I mean, like we do have a lot of areas to explore in terms of traffic engineering, because like we never had a specialist traffic data collection business. Like right now, I have some state-of-the-art equipment which could be placed on the site, and they can do traffic counting, even classification of data in terms of heavy vehicle, light vehicle, all automated system, very accurate. So I'm thinking of having the detector cameras to detect where if a certain lane is jammed up. So you allow more green time for that particular lane. So there is some space in that. Somebody who is pretty good with electrical engineering and who wants to know about traffic engineering, they can always mix and then really explore that area really well. So it's open to anybody.
Well, Krishnil, we wish you all the very best in your innovative idea.
And hopefully we'll have less traffic on the roads from now on.
Hope so.
When we come back, we speak with Winston Hill, the brand advocate for the YES program. Welcome back. Let's welcome to the show Mr. Winston Hill, the brand advocate for YES. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. Tell us about your experience with the YES program.
Thanks for having me on the show. So basically what I do with the Young Entrepreneurship Scheme is just to champion it and be the face of the project, using my position as an elite athlete in boxing to reach a wider audience for the youth of Fiji through marketing strategies by the Young Entrepreneurship Scheme and their team.
So it's been quite successful, as many people would know. It's been quite heavy on billboards. It's going out on social media, in the papers, in news. You have ads that's going on. So, you know, using your face, using you as a brand ambassador for this particular program, of course, would hit home for youths. Given that, I don't mean to be rude about it, but attention span. You need to have something that really catches, you know, young people's eyes, because they've got so many things available out there. So to have someone like you out there in the spotlight, championing something like this would hit home for them. What's it been like for you to go out there and talk to them? Is this something that they are interested in, or is it something that just the government is trying to put in place, but those at the grassroots levels are not really interested in?
Well, we've, through the engagements that they've arranged, is approach universities, youth collabs, where we talk to students and alumni from USB and FNU, really engaging them on a face-to-face basis, where it makes more of an impact, but also through heavy social media engagement, because engaging with the youth nowadays is through social media, and that's the best way to do it. 30-second to a minute videos to really get their attention and put the message across, and that's one of my key roles as the brand ambassador and the advocate for YES. A lot of, like you said, the attention span is very short for people nowadays, young and old, and that's a fact. And it's always being in their face about it, always pitching the Young Entrepreneurship Scheme as an opportunity that they can tap into to develop themselves and their business.
And speaking of opportunity, you know, as an athlete, I'm guessing that you're self-established, right? You must have worked really hard to get to where you are today. But the fact that the government of the day gives such an opportunity to students and to youths especially, whatever their field may be, they don't even need a qualification. What would you say about that? Have you received word from your colleagues or other youths on the fact that this opportunity has been given to them?
Yes, one of the key advice that I would give is passion. Always have that passion for what you're doing. If you're working with passion, if you're passionate about your work, it'll relate to your product and services, and the kind of impact that you will have to society will be much more. It's that you wake up every day and you look forward to heading into work, helping more people, being more of an impact socially and on all different levels with the people around you. Yeah.
Tell us about the innovation criteria for YES. You do need to have a certain level of creativity. Your project needs to be, I guess, unique.
Yes. So innovation unique, when we pitch that across to the youth, to the public, they'd probably scratch their heads and ask, okay, how is it going to be unique? What's innovation? So basically stating that your idea needs to be something new, something not yet implemented in Fiji or been used in Fiji. For instance, Adeline Tutu, one of the first recipients of the YES grant, her unique point was that she had a fitness app tied into her project. Right, there's a ton of fitness apps around, but hers being the first developed and implemented in Fiji gives her the unique standing among other applicants. So if you have an idea that has that unique selling point where it's just new and unique, it has to be new and not yet implemented. Another aspect of innovation is you may have an existing business, but using an idea, a new concept that's technologically and modernized to engage a need for the Fiji market.
What about using ideas that are used overseas around the Western world, but trying to localize it here? Say, for example, of course, we've highlighted this earlier on in the show, Atunaisa's idea about creating biomass fuel over here, creating it from waste cuttings of grass clippings. That's something really interesting, something that, of course, we here in a country like Fiji trying to sort of have a hand in trying to prevent climate change would be viable. things like that. Is it difficult, or is it easier to talk to young people or just anyone who's interested in something like this, trying to get them to think outside the box, using foreign concepts and having a local application?
That's exactly what it is. Learning from Western development, and one main thing that comes into play is traveling, experiencing it firsthand, and not just viewing it online, copy and paste what you've seen. That's where passion ties in. You've got to be passionate about what project you're proposing, and that will be your life's work. That's what you want to be in for the next 10 to 15 years. And also those projects that have been used and it's successful overseas, it definitely will succeed in Fiji, as Fiji is a growing market, it's a growing industry in different parts of it. And examples would be, if you're in the food industry, we don't have a seafood restaurant where you can fish right beside your table for the freshest catch. If you're in, let's say, for instance, still in the food industry, robots serving you, as wild as it is, it's innovative, it's new, so things like that that can be implemented.
We'll have more for you right after the break. Welcome back. Now, Winston, as you know, growing up in Fiji, in Fiji and most places in the Pacific, we've got a culture of silence where people don't openly speak out, especially when it comes to having new ideas. If you happen to live in an extended family with your grandparents or your relatives that are older than you, considerably older than you, you always feel this sort of hesitance to, voice your opinions and bring out new ideas. So for those people, what would you advise?
I want to tell a story.
Yeah, sure.
When I started out boxing, I always had the passion for boxing. Always loved the sport of fighting. The freedom to express yourself, both emotionally, physically, and with control. So growing up, always had that passion. And when I was in university, had a group of friends where we'd smoke and hang out, bad habits, partying, all that stuff. And when I pitched the idea of, hey, let's go and train, or let's go do some boxing, they'd laugh. And that's the kind of atmosphere that I grew up around. And it took me to build enough courage and confidence to step away, love them from a distance, but step away and continue my own path on what I'm passionate about. And that's something that I can tell firsthand to people that are going through the same things, where they're being judged or talked down upon, looked down upon. If they are in that position, it's always a good way to just step away, and you can love your family, you can love your friends from a distance, but be on a path to your own success.
Like you mentioned, being part of the group is always something that everyone in Fiji goes through, and not just Fiji, youth around the world. It's all about not standing out in a bad way, or even too much in a good way. It's always about fitting in. With your talks, with your dialogues and discussions, have you ever come across those who have maybe an inkling or like a budding idea, and yet they feel like they may not be able to have the support that they need to actually go through with applying for YES?
Or they might just think that their idea is just not good enough.
That's where I come in as the advocate. Had good success with social media engagements, putting up videos and just asking for people's feedback. If they have questions on this, people with budding ideas, entrepreneurship. So we've successfully had a few people call in and ask about the application process, and just giving direct feedback in real time, instead of applying and waiting for months before you get one feedback. So if you have any questions, just apply and fill in the application forms online, www.yes.gov.fj. And if you have any questions, just ask me directly on BoxFit Fiji, my Facebook page, and I'll be happy to answer any questions on the application and the criteria.
Now, you've met with people out there in real time. You've also, of course, kept in touch with YES recipients so far with their programs that have been initiated, and they've been successful in it. Adeline Tutu has been quite successful in this particular field, given that, you know, nowadays in the Pacific you need something that's actually going to complement our own lifestyle. Her app not only does something for your workout regime, but also for meal prep.
Yes.
And something like that, you know, people may have something that they consider, I don't know, quite silly. How do you get them to break out of that role and, you know, that way of thinking, instead of just giving them advice? Because telling someone you can do this or you can do that is quite easy. Do you have any idea if there's any mentorship programs out there to actually help those who have ideas? Because I can understand recipients have mentors, but what about those who have an idea that they want to build upon?
That's something that's in the pipeline with the YES program. They do have mentors and guidance programs for the YES recipients, but out there in the general public, you will have to look and search high and low for mentors and guidance in your field of work, whether it be in agriculture, maritime.
Right.
You'd have to look through the relevant authorities to get guidance on your projects and the need for your proposal. So it's definitely a need to have a forum where young budding entrepreneurs can safely communicate, raise their questions, and seek guidance. It's a need.
But
Now-
once you're actually in the program, you're of course assigned a mentor in your relevant field. So what exactly does your mentor do for you if you're a recipient of the grant?
It's more so being a providing constructive criticism. You pitch your idea, and we be the worst, and they would be the worst critic, to make sure that you build confidence in your brand, in your product, and through that, you do have their support. They will point you in the direction, the market needed for your project, and they have the relevant experience and the network that you as an applicant can tap into and further your project.
So before we wrap things up on the show, we had mentioned that there was a youth collab that had happened earlier on in January, and you were there as a representative for YES. So what were some of the things that you picked up from there?
The Youth Collab is a UNDP and USP collaboration work to really foster communication between entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, and mentors, and creating a safe co-working space that they can pitch their ideas, and gives them an opportunity to approach the World Innovation Hub, where they get support from world leaders and leading entrepreneurs. So what I was able to pick from there is main thing, networking. People need other people's support through their own ideas and their businesses. So one of the major parts of entrepreneurship is networking, getting to know as many people as you can, and building good public relation.
Okay, on a personal level, besides the YES grant and the YES program, what's next for you in boxing?
Boxing, we have exciting news for boxing in Fiji. Johnny Lewis, the 6-time world champion coach, has from Australia, he has worked with his team to donate 2 Olympic-sized rings to Fiji. One will be set up at the 9 Mile police barracks, and the other will be in Nandi. This will be big for Fiji boxing. It's, I think, one of the biggest donations that they've gotten from Australia. And the event will be on March 1st. Boxing event to launch their inclusion in the Australia-Fiji Business Council. And we're looking to launch female boxing as well, empowerment to women through sport.
Thank you very much, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. That's all we have for you tonight. Join us again next week. Good evening.